Thank you, Rob. Appreciate your efforts. I would like to call the meeting to order. It's the Lake Bank Board meeting, our regular October meeting. We've got an agenda full of exciting topics today that we're going to cover. So I thank everybody for being here today. I think we have minutes that have been distributed to the board by the team. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on the minutes that have been circulated? If not, motion to accept the minutes as prepared from September 17th, 2024. Do we have a motion? Chris, thank you. Do we have a second? Mike, thank you. Any further discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, before I move on to the executive report, I think this perhaps might be your first official meeting back with us since your leave. I just want to welcome you back. You've already been back for a month or more, but we're happy to have you back. I also wanted to say one more time how much we appreciate the assistant director's efforts over those 3 months. Rob did a great job. I think I speak for everybody here in holding things together, not only holding things together, but doing it well, and we appreciate that. So thank you for that. And Jess, we're happy to have you back too. And I know there's all kinds of exciting activity that's happening now, and we're looking forward to hearing more about it. If you'd like to deliver your report.
Great. Again, I'll reiterate to all board members, please feel free to stop me at any point. Depends problem. So, our CDBG rehab project updates. We have one maintenance report on. We submitted our final annual performance report. That should be signed, sealed, delivered. Last HCR comes back and says we're saying something. At the very end of the grant, they did what's called a risk assessment, where they asked for people things. We've been able to talk about going to their site, and we've not heard anything bad or wrong about it. So, but Paul says just, keep everything up to date and just be prepared 2 years from now for that question. So, but that's it. That's all we had to do, and I think we're done there. With our city ARPA and HCR LBR phase 2 project updates. Currently, I think has 7 properties included in the city's ARPA program as rehab projects. 34 acres out with the help of our realtor, John Farrell. Property's been listed on the market for a little over 2 weeks. While we don't have an official offer yet, we strongly believe one should be coming along any day now. Properties 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1.5 bath, fully renovated top to bottom. Beautiful. So, talking to John Farrell, I'm a little patient, like, what's going on? And he just said it's really, really slow time right now, and just hold on tight. So, okay. But we'll keep the board apprised of if we make things possible. Wait. As it relates to 52 Beethoven Street, we plan to hold a press conference announcing the home for sale in a week or 2. We'll also be listing this home with John Farrell. And we have been contacted by several individuals or families who are interested in the home already. So we know there's interest. Whether that interest are eligible buyers is another question, but we do know that there's scope for it. So, and we'll let the board know when. Coyote General Contracting is continuing their work at 33 Elm Street. They have received their building permits from the city of Binghamton. They've placed a new driveway. They've done exterior work on the front of the garage. The contract has until early January 2025 to put this project. Our CM on the job, Brittany, this is her first project with us. She's doing a great job. She's really organized and she's doing a great job. As you all are aware, we issued a bid package for the renovation of 53rd Street in early September, and then we're due a few weeks ago. After receiving 4 bids total, Full Construction was identified as a low bid, and we had a qualification meeting with the contractor recently to review scope of work front to back. So there is a resolution we're going to board today to award. 170 Willow Street will be going on to bid tomorrow. We plan to hold the pre-bid meeting next week, Wednesday afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. And the bids for the project will be back on November 1st. So we're moving very quickly on all of those renovation projects. 14 McNamara is the last one right now in queue. We recently went out for process internal demolition, which we do back late last week. After receiving 10 responses, the general contracting was the lowest proposal. This resolution of what board to want that contract as well. We did discuss with the contractor their capacity to split their time evenly. Once the current project they're undertaking right now in this ward, and this one outside. So they wanted to make sure that awarding of the contract is not going to impede progress at that one. Continue on and secure federal needs continue on as well, but it has a as it relates to 21 Walnut Street, the RFP for purchase and redevelopment was issued at the end of July. Proposals will be back on September 6th. We did receive 2 proposals. However, I wanted to discuss before that I would plan to hold off on those right now due to our recent application for FEMA funding, which, if awarded, could be used on the project or the developer, as long as the developer or landlord, let's call them, is deemed an eligible property owner by the program. They could apply for these funds and they could consider awarding. I did discuss that type of approach with Crystal Walker at OCR, and she seemed to like that, knowing that some banks already have existing properties. I think we just want so I plan to hold off, see what happens there. And in the event that we are awarded, I would take recommendations of board to reject those two proposals next year. As board's aware, Chairman Morgan, Rob, and I have had several conversations with the city code, made some visits with one of our engineering firms regarding the acquisition of 181 College Street from the city of Binghamton, which was former Isaac Ansford property. With the assistance of the mayor's office, an RL request for legislation has been submitted to the city council to acquire the property for $1, so simply a donation of the property to the land bank. It's our understanding that the RL has been assigned to the city council planning committee, so it's going to hear how to do for that. It's the donation of the property to land bank to the city council. Our intention would be to consider another RFP to purchase and redevelopment like 13 Avenue, 21 Walnut Street, as historically the land bank has not become a role for the board. That's what I would intend to do there. It's a 2-family, rather large 2-family actually. So that's what I'd like to see.
I think if I could just maybe add into the graph of what you're saying.
Yep.
This is a property that's owned by a former owner, whose approach was less than ideal for the community. This is really, it's city code identified this one, right? Because they've reviewed them all, and a lot of them are in very rough shape. Very, very, very much. This is one that potentially Senator Westgate identified potentially as one that could be rehabbed. I think it's worth dropping. It really could turn the page on a history, a very bad history of ownership. And if we have a developer owner who is willing to rent that in an affordable manner, similar to like 3K, that seems like it fits in pretty well with either Beaver Clover potentially, or even the city ARPA program potentially too.
It's a 2-family.
It is a 2-family. It's almost,
And it's large.
yeah. It's on Hawley Street. Hawley Street comes down from.
What about the one next to it, 179? Because
We don't know that one.
Yeah, that would be, just kind of a side conversation about what we.
But it's private. I believe that one's privately owned. Yeah. Now maybe an owner would want to participate in a program.
well, I'm thinking, it's not being used right now.
No.
The one on the left, somebody's just paying taxes and insurance.
The one to the left is messy. That's the one we're talking about here. The other ones on the rest of that block are nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did talk about that. Well, first it was Rob and I guess over there a couple months ago, Jonathan Westgate. He knew all the history that he was able to talk about. I think that would be Yeah, this is sort of, the conversations here are sort of within the code department, right? It's like, it's not a sort of a global thing for the city, but we sort of been working with the code department, Rob, just out, putting out.
County that owns 181 right now.
The city owns it.
City owns
With the former owner, out for a whole bunch of properties that he
Okay,
did.
Okay.
Okay, he should have, but
But thinking a little bit ahead here, shouldn't do that. We approved first, but, you know, or we will likely recall. But the thing, hard help on that project too. Because
it was outside the box.
it was very,
Yeah.
that type of project, so it's not possible to. It's not likely to be successful with this subsidy attached to the development.
Right.
So-
We're not gonna convert that to a one family and then sell it as an affordable home. It's huge.
okay.
So.
But if we can get the point, if we like with Three King or potential for Walnut, if we can get a private owner who's willing to rent at an affordable rate for that 10-year period of time, I think it's 10 years. Then that's a victory, because right now, we can't, it's not, I mean, it's not structurally deficient, but it's not a place that would be appropriate to rent out anybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah. Okay, so, our county ARPA, land commission, basically general project updates, all of our invoices from the most recent round of demolitions have been paid. The project's been closed out. We are in the process of completing the sale contract for each side lot sale previously approved by the board. Thank you to Rob and the board for making that round of reality, in my absence. Everything went very well. Thank you. As it relates to future demolition projects, we currently have 61 Park Avenue and are working on obtaining 26 Overland Drive in the city of Livingston from the county. The acquisition was before the county legislature's finance committee meeting last week and will be under consideration at this week's legislature. We'd like to thank County Executive Partner for all the city government councils and the property department for acquisition. Our HCR operating funds, operating year 3 is well underway. We're tracking expenses. This is the final year of the LBI operating grant, unless HCR with this program, we have to will, so we'll, keep the board track of that. Our HCR landing commission these 2 funds, our capital funds, running to the board, the grant term is 18 months. We're moving quickly through the grant on the deliverables. We have submitted our 4th disbursement request as of last week, totaling just over $253,000. That disbursement has put us just over 70% of our total award spent to date. We're very close to the 75% threshold that needs to be dispersed to reapply. And we do have to reapply to more money. Kind of on today's agenda to discuss that. Our just really quickly on the vehicle rental improvement program, as a reminder, staff submitted a grant application for $1.11 billion to CR in early October for the review program, vehicle rental improvement program. Program is intended to assist non-top-style landlords with small grants to renovate vacant and uninhabitable units. There is a memo impact that provides some more details regarding the grant application and the program itself. If awarded, we plan to use funding for projects on 21 Walnut Street, properties at 181 Folly Street, should the land require it. Though it would have, these properties would have to be disclosed to a private entity for these funds. I will be sure to notify the board if and when awards are announced, which we believe will be in November or December. So whether we're awarded or not, I'm up for them. Our small business community waiver program, the board approved project with Nursery Development at the April board meeting. Our understanding is that they are still waiting to close on the properties that include former South Diner, which is Bridge and neighboring single family home. Once we receive word that they are ready to begin the project, we get all the work handled. They are aware of the tab until we can do the project. Next, I just want to make the board aware, next year, Rob and I are thinking about potentially undertaking some type of marketing campaign to raise more awareness for the program, entice more small businesses to apply. Keep the board well informed as to what that entails. I think there might be some value in issuing, just kind of thinking out loud now, an RFP for smaller marketing campaigns, maybe for marketing campaigns or something, and get the word out there. Funding is it's useful, you know. I'll bet certainly lack the experience to be able to do it myself, and there's that certainly burden out there.
Well, just we potentially have some need for that as it relates to the VRIP program too, where
Yeah.
we're looking for small amount of, like I said, mom and pop property owners, people who aren't rolling necessarily in the same circles that, you know, those who own huge, you know, complexes, right? So we're gonna have to figure out how also to get to those folks, right? Like who might own just a couple
Did you get any
houses.
response? On that? Yeah?
No.
No.
So I think there are, to the point, I think there are a couple of opportunities there where some marketing experience or firm would be helpful to figure out how to get in touch with those kind of folks. You know, both of them.
I think there's also some value too in putting, you know, a little bit of effort, right? You know, getting our, for example, our listings out there, you know, boosting that somehow or something like that, you know.
Except we're selling all our listings for maximum based on what they can afford. So if we have more people applying, chances are we're not going to get any more money for it anyway, right?
I would say that
You
we're
think
not
it will?
listing.
So then why spend money trying to get more people if you're going to sell for the same amount anyway? Now, I can see spending money for, like you say, contacting people. And there, I think I would go through the realtors, through the board of realtors. And, you know, I don't think it would take a lot of money. I think it would take, you know, some time to contact either the board for their monthly meetings or go directly to some of the bigger firms and speak to them. Okay. But I don't think, you know, putting it in the paper or on social media, you're not likely to get. I mean, I think you're spending money you're not like
One of the
to get in
What we
return.
want to know is, what is the best way, as it relates to like VRIP, for instance, what is the mechanism that you use to identify or communicate with someone who owns a two-family next to their house? Right, like that, like, how do you find those people?
Well,
Right,
I think in a lot of cases, once again, through realtors, a lot of realtors have individual clients that own 1, 2, 3, and maybe looking to pick up one or something like that. And that would be a benefit to the agents to contact these people because that's solidifying the contact. Okay.
Yep.
Even if they're not making any money on it, they're having the client that's indebted to them.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that's the way to go.
Last few notes are our administrative housekeeping items. Land-based 2025 budget for board today. Discuss that in a few moments. As previously mentioned, there's several funding opportunities for land banks in the most recent fiscal budget. We have operation dollars, home funding programs, home market development items spaces that we can discuss funding rounds right now. And then our next year planning association meeting is this Thursday, the 4th. There will be a discussion of the legislative priorities of the Living Association heading to next state. And it's all that.
any questions for Jess on the report? I know we've talked about finances already in the finance committee. I know you'll do maybe a brief run through when we get to this again. But I think we've covered what we need to for now. Any questions for the executive director? Okay, thank you. Public and community advisory panel comments. Any members of the public wish to address the board? Good. All right, thank you. We're going to dispense with that then. And let's move on to new business. We have a couple of items to handle. And then I'm going to recommend that we go to executive session to cover staff performance and compensation and acquisition of real property. But I think we can cover these first two items. Jess, do you want to say anything about the first one? You talked a bit about it already, but anything that additionally you want to talk about?
Yeah, the only thing is you see in your packet, we have a resolution before the board. We have our bid tabulation sheet. We got, you see, we have pretty competitive figures on the project, I would say. I really like to, it's kind of different than when I first started in this role. Our figures were less than this, but this is actually getting pretty decent for nowadays for these types of projects. So Malarkey Construction's bid form is in there. And we have requested from the board a total of $108,000. So in advance of Malarkey's bid, we are going to accept the alternate concrete slab in the existing basement. So his contract would be 158.5, and then the alternate set anticipated change order comes up that would just allow Proper to approve that without for that. But anything egregious comes about, it should go through it.
Yep. Thank you, Jessica. Any questions about this?
Yeah.
Hey, great, yes.
I'm just curious, I noticed one submission was red. If I can do something red, will be.
No,
It catches my eye, but this one is so much different higher than the other.
unless the contractor asks for a debrief, we don't typically offer them.
The contractor, were they present at the bid opening?
No, they were not present at the bid opening, but they were at the pre-bid.
You and Marion would work with them before, at least,
Wait, I'm sorry.
have we contracted with them before?
Malarkey Construction? Yeah, they're great at that.
Same thing with Clearview, it's like Clearview, so.
Clearview door window, yeah, we've done several projects, but it seems to me like it's a circle right now. It's like, we're going to Malarkey Construction, Clearview door window type, whatever contracting. Now we're doing Malarkey Construction. I would not be surprised. So,
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to award a contract to Malarkey Construction LLC for the renovations and reconstruction of 8th grade in the city of Binghamton. May I have a motion? Mayor, thank you. Second. Tom, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries. We have a resolution to award a contract for internal demolition. We can cover this, but anything else you want to say about it?
same thing. We have a quote comparison in the packet. We have a copy of the lowest quote proposal. We discussed with the contractor their plan for disposal, how many employees we plan to have on site to keep this. The board should know that it's a 45-day turnaround. It's pretty harsh, like solid deadline. We need it in 45 days because we need to get the project.
Is it signed on this one, Jess?
Very close, which is why.
Yep.
And we also, yes, they do have 45 days, but I did discuss.
Okay. Any questions for the executive director about this project, this resolution? If not, entertain a motion to award a contract to Tioga General Contracting for the internal demolition of 14 McNamara Avenue in the city of Binghamton. We have a motion. Thank you. Mike, second, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries. All right. All right, executive session. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing or reviewing the land bank staff performance and compensation, as well as the acquisition of real property. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. Tom, thank you. All right. We're gonna go into executive session. All those purposes. Oh, yes. All those in favor of going to executive session, say aye. Aye. Okay. And I anticipate that when we come out of the executive session, that we will vote on section. Motion to come out of executive session by Chris, seconded by Tom. All were in favor of that. We now have before us a proposed 2025 operating administrative budget. And you've already covered this, I think, Jess. I don't know if we need to you need to cover anything at a high level, or are we good? Yeah, the board is good. We discussed this in finance in detail, and you covered it previously. I would note that this represents a revision and amendment as approved by the finance committee of the original proposed budget in order to account for staff adjustments, compensation adjustments. We appreciate Jess and Rob, what you both have done for the organization. They've done a great job with their board record. I think everybody here who those could make it would absolutely second that. It's a great job. This budget reflects those adjustments again, as previously mentioned. Finance salary adjustments of 1 grade for both the executive director and assistant director. That's reflected in the budget that would be discussed and voted on now. So I would open it up for any discussion related to the 2025 operating administrative and capital budget. So any comments that need to be made, questions that we haven't covered? Anything from any board members? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the proposed 2025 operating budget as recommended by finance previously, with adjustments recommended by personnel and government. We have a motion. So moved. Thank you. Mike and Chris, thank you. Any further discussion on the budget as amended and proposed?
Just quick, are you going through each budget, operating administrative capital, or you just
One whole budget.
Yeah, okay.
One whole budget. I'm sorry. The operating administrative and capital. That guy just spoke in there. The entire budget. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor of approving the 2025 operating administrative and capital budget, say aye. Aye. Is there anybody opposed? That carries. All right. So we have the long-awaited discussion. This has come up a couple of times, and I've sort of put off the discussion because I thought it would be beneficial for the executive director to be back here as part of the discussion. There's been discussion emails, discussion to the board about sort of having a brainstorming session about these funding opportunities and potential ideas that people have. And I don't think necessarily it has to be limited to right now. People may have ideas after this too that they could share. But I guess I turn it over to you, Jess, to start and just give us a very high level, like 2 sentences level of each of these grant programs, and that may sort of whet people's appetites for sharing what their ideas might be, either specifically or conceptually.
Okay, so kind of break it up into 2 parts. So discussion of the New York State HCR vacant recruitment program application. There's a memo in the packet where I kind of describe each, provide a summary for each part of the application that HCR was looking for, and this is what our bank has submitted. And I do regret that I didn't get a chance to talk to the board about this person. So I apologize for that. So I am hopeful that correspondence back and forth, updates and providing the board with enough information, but this is what our application had entailed. So high level, HCR came out with this program earlier this year. Funding is going to support small mom and pop landlords for their vacant, unheated, uninhabitable, and for unmarketable units back online. We applied for $1.11 million in support maybe 15 to 20 units over the 4-month period. So HCR is looking for. So I'll anticipate that rolling out or awarded. Rob and I will put together the program handbook that we have for CDP, for ARPA, and associated applications. We reviewed by board, approved by board. All the applications received by the land bank would be reviewed by staff, and then it gets to the board for consideration of the board. Land bank would be responsible through our various different service agreements, develop scope of work request quotes for those folks to work, get the construction done, and then assist the landlord with getting the.
We could, you wanna go one by one and throw a conversation about people's thoughts one by one?
I don't, whatever the board would prefer,
Is Tarek, or I know one of the, just part of your suggestion, right, to have these broad conversations about this and brainstorm what could go into them. I'm fine if you want to go one by one, or if you want to just, why don't you brief us on the other ones, and then let's just have a discussion of what could possibly be done, or people's ideas.
okay, so, then there's 2 open requests for applications right now. One being land bank initiative phase 2, HCR opened up another round of funding capital dollars for land banks. Land banks can apply at the, land banks can apply if, 75% of the original award has been,
We're close to.
which we're very close, which is why I wanted to, bring this to the board today, because it might be at 75% expended, by the time of our next meeting, so I figured we'd talk about it now. So the RFP is similar, it's not the same as the previous RFP. Eligible activities include acquisition, tree development expenses, stabilization activities. HCR has opened, the funding up to, moderate to substantial rehabilitation activities, develop new homes, for sale to LMI households.
So just like a rehab, like the affordable program that we do? And demolitions?
And demolitions, and program delivery, which is a typical, one that a lot of UCR folks. Although, I don't want to speak for HCR, but I do know that they look favorably on, applications, that describe like what the development. So, because, arguably our bank has access to other types of funding to help us do, substantial rehab or moderate rehab.
So like we use current funds to back up the city on the projects,
Yes,
right?
for redevelopment.
Yes.
So I don't know, being completely honest with the board, because our access, to tax foreclosed properties, is arguably delayed, and potentially we don't know if
Right.
it's gonna.
But I just pop in with a, recycle bin or something.
Delayed, I don't know if we'll be able to access tax on those properties, so it's,
We may need to put a chunk into acquisition.
yeah, and the HCR, my understanding is HCR has been more open to that, given the fact that training. So I mean, that would kind of be one of my thoughts there, but, because we're not quite there yet, and put a whole lot of thought into it, but. I think-
Jess, what about, one of the areas I know we've talked about over the years, never been able to do anything, is in the town of Union. Is there an opportunity to use this kind of funding to do home renovations, portable home program type stuff, say in the town of Union, where we've never done it?
Arguably, yes.
Oh, I didn't mention this to her first, so. she's not gonna have it.
Arguably, yes, the funding could support something like that, but the same issue exists with the access. So we could request the funding. I'm always, hesitant to request. I would rather go in with a lower request, and make sure that we know we said it and it's asked before.
And if we're talking about buying things for $50,000 or $100,000 each, that money's not gonna go for.
But then the other program, I know some land banks are pursuing this. I know, Oswego County Land Bank has submitted an application for the home buyer development program. This is a program through HCR or it's a program that they had a while ago and they're reviewing it once again a few years later. So this program can support substantial rehab or rebuilds. So it's similar to CBG, but there's some regulations that go along with it. So this RFA round, their applications are due by the end of the month. And one of the things that we would have to substantiate is site control, that's home regulation. And so I would recommend that we, apply for this RFA, obviously for obvious reasons.
We don't have a bunch of vacant lots where we can build modules, right, essentially?
not-
Put words in your mouth, but that's probably what they want, right?
We don't have them right now. So, but ACR has expressed that they anticipate another round of this funding being stopped in January. So maybe it's important to revisit at time if there's funding still.
Okay. So those are the ones we've got either in the works, soon to be in the works, or maybe in the out months. What are people's thoughts about what we should be prioritizing? Obviously, we're certainly going for land bank around whatever this capital, that's critical for what we do. We've already been applied for, home buyers sort of out there, we've sites. What are people's thoughts about our approaches about ADMDs or just in general about our approaches? That's fine if there is one right now too. I mean, your opportunity here to explain what these are is helpful in itself, right? Maybe it's a little bit.
I mean, whatever you're thinking of, I think there's an argument that I don't want to speak for any other land bank, but generally speaking, you kind of begin to think outside the box because of the focus acquisition and uprooted in a way. So perhaps there's opportunities here to acquire private property. There's opportunities here to think about my thoughts. One of the thoughts that I had, and just kind of thinking out loud, is install with the safety waiver program. Potentially there is room here to request hard demo costs. Maybe it's not on a 50-50 share. But I mean, yes, one of the biggest things that we hear from folks is the reason why they don't undertake demolition projects because of the demolition costs are not like they're reasonable. They still are expensive. Tipping fees are some aspects more than the cost of so tipping fee waiver helps, but potentially we could operate more like with.
One of the things we're going to have to figure out, if we can conclude on this, if anybody has anything else to say, one of the things in the context of all this, we're going to need to figure out early next year where we're going to be as it relates to portfolio. That's not single-handedly our discussion, but it's a discussion with the county and municipalities that we're doing. But what is there going to be a mechanism by which we acquire tax portfolio properties? And if we continue to do that, how are we handling the liability of what's going to be owed to a former owner? That's sort of the $1 million, maybe multi-million-dollar question. How we're going to handle that? That may be something to spend some time thinking about, because we probably will want to acquire some of those properties, but there's a potential liability right between what that property is worth and what we would buy it for, and then who is making whole former owner. That's really helpful.
I feel like there could be, it's like we have to look better development than inventory use.
Yeah,
I know the city has to take property for the next really think what that is. What is the current publicly owned property we're going to take a lot? Now the union has those people the world. Because I think that is going to really drive what our funding is. Because everything is changed with that.
agreed. I know Jess reached out to some planning departments to that very point that you're making, to try to identify, I think the city, at least in the town, maybe there was others, but at least the city and the town trying to identify if there are vacant lots.
Potentially make a project or something that prevents us from going to go show that big property and offering whatever to purchase property.
Does the town maintain such a list like the city does? Yeah. Yeah.
There's also some of the other, over land bank is to keep any proceedings like the next day. If we can get a couple of dollars that, maybe that's another thing. You know, that would go to cycle. But and then to be collaborate, you could put it, could have used to make it a restoring award for the hotel. The event that is on station, yes, after the town, they could give this up as their priority. So I think we're at the point now where it's just.
I think that's coming, Tarek. I think the restoring, I suspect, I don't know this, but I've heard that some of the potential developments that could be pursued there would pursue historic flood, right?
I would just note that the challenge that we discussed internally, we've expressed that conversations with owner from the city, if have actually considered and so that challenge is what
What's the challenge?
With the deed issues between the two properties. We need to work on that, and I think there's some openness at that point for us to pursue something. Maybe we approach the town to, I don't think we can apply for the store, right?
no, it would have to be this.
It has to be the local. One of the things, and I know we need to wrap up, one of the things that I like the idea of doing, and I know we talked about this before, but never figured out a way to do it. Tarek's point, if we could identify with the municipalities properties that are on those lists, or properties that potentially are on the foreclosure list, or potentially are purchasable. I'd love to figure out a way to do something not in a scattering site way, but in a sort of in a holistic way, right? Where we could try to go for, you know, maybe a vacant lot that the municipality is aware of, right? And then maybe a foreclosure property, and then maybe try to do something with help us safe streets or something like that, where there could be a holistic approach taken. I'd love to say, you know, here's a block and there's 2 or 3 properties of that block where we could do something and get them different. We have to get them different ways, right? But I'd love that, and then sort of cobble together the right grant programs to make that happen. I think that would be a pretty neat thing to do. Again, probably lofty, maybe pie in the sky, but if there was a way to achieve it, I think that would be pretty neat.
But for the west over here, it's probably got all the property that goes after this being on. So they're off.
Yeah.
Off the list.
You never gonna do anything besides put a community garden there. So,
There were a whole bunch of them right now. Just one thing for the buyer, he's don't have here. Because we could see in the future, you could revitalize neighborhood, which is the housing project at Fairmount Park.
right.
That was how that got done.
Right.
They weren't.
So they could put stuff, as long as they met whatever the grant funding requirements, which is brings them up or something like that. Yeah. That's it. Okay. All right, good. Thank you, Jess. Anybody has ideas, reach out to Jess and Rob, or email, that's fine too. Any other things we need to cover? Jess, sorry, Rob, what's our next meeting?
It is, well, it's something. It is November 12th.
November 12th.
It's a week earlier. November 1 is usually the
After
second.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
So we can avoid, yeah.
That'll be here before we know it. Okay, any other business come before the Land Bank Board of Directors? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Chris, do we have a second? No one wants to leave. Kyle, a second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, Eric.
Your